happy Wednesday, everybody. Mark again here at Weatherman Plus. Now I'm going to give you the latest update on what's going on with Invest 91L, as well as this next extreme pattern that we're going into where this cold air is coming in, coldest temperatures of the year, and bringing major snowfall, potential blizzards, because some winds is coming in with this system as well. Now remember, all the timestamps are in the description to help save you time. And you can see what the ensembles are saying according to Invest 91L. A lot of them are taking it straight to Honduras, Nicaragua, but some of them are showing that it could bounce back up, that this high pressure could relax back a little bit and still go towards the Yucatan, hit towards Belize, maybe even get to the southern half of the Bay of Campeche. Now, as of right now, it's getting a lot of good convection, but it's still getting some shear on the north end, also getting some shear pushing southward on the system. But it is starting to get stronger convection than what it had yesterday, but it's still lopsided because of the shear. Now, as of this morning, it is still at 34 miles per hour winds, and it is moving fast, west at 15 miles per hour. And I wanted to wait for the 8 o'clock update this morning. That way we had the latest information from National Hurricane Center. And they have it at 60% in 48 hours, 80% within the next 5 days. And they have it regardless of development. It is going to bring heavy rainfall, localized flooding to a lot of the region in the Caribbean. Now, when you take a look on global tropics, you can see there is a percentage chance for something to develop in the Eastern Pacific as is energy, this wave pushes by, but you also have a chance for it not only going to Nicaragua, but you also have it where it could go Western Caribbean towards Belize and the Yucatan. But they literally give it a 20% chance of that happening. So it's a very low chance that it actually does go towards the Yucatan. They are showing, though, it is a possibility. But you can see here on your low-level winds that it is getting some shear from the west to the east on the north side of the system, but it's also getting some southwesterly shear pushing south on this system on the south side. So it's really getting torn apart, and it is not vertically stacked. But as you look at the streamlined winds, you can see that the high pressure does expand out, and it does steer this to the west-northwest. But that high pressure stays there and keeps it suppressed where it don't make a far movement to the west. It gets shoved right into Nicaragua and Honduras, while the high pressure stays there and expands and does push it into the Eastern Pacific. That is what the Euro is seeing. But you can see it a little bit better here as the system moves into the Caribbean. You get this high pressure that starts expanding out all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, and that blocks the system and it steers it straight into that direction. There's no way it could go west if it does have this high pressure block all the way through, all the way to Nicaragua, Honduras. This high pressure expands out, this trough comes down and just smashes this high pressure and just keeps it in position, and it's going to stay there. But it is going to bring rainfall towards the Windward Islands. They're already getting it. And it's also going to bring rainfall towards Venezuela and Colombia as well, as it keeps going to the west, bringing a lot of precipitation in, and it finally gets itself together. But you have this high pressure in front of it just steering it to the west, and it can't go no further to the northwest. That's pretty much the direction it is going to go. We need to keep following it because some of the model guidance is showing it could go a little more northern, but this is bringing a lot of rainfall towards Central America. But when you look at the latest intensity guidance, it does show in the next 3 days, more than likely we'll have a tropical storm. It will be named Julia. But within the next 4 days and beyond, it could be a Cat 1 hurricane, maybe even getting stronger to a major hurricane if it takes that western push. But you can see here from National Hurricane Center, in 24 hours, you could get a surface low potential possible cyclone. But you see how the whole mass is going over land. And in 48 hours, it is going to stay over land over Venezuela, then move over Colombia. But in 72 hours, it's pretty much going to get set free from this land interaction. And it's already too late being this far to the west. You have this big high pressure expanding out, and there's nowhere really to go. GFS Canadian, some of the models is showing it will let go off of landfall a little bit sooner and able to travel further to the west. Now, when you look at the 500 millibar height of the vorticity, you can see it's pretty well broke up this morning. It does get land interaction, but it does eventually get off of land, and it don't have too much longer to go. So it pretty much takes it right towards Honduras and Nicaragua, where it's going to get the full impact of the system. And it could curve later, go towards maybe Belize, a little bit of Yucatan on the north side might feel this if it takes a little bit of a northern track. But so far, the Euro is taking it straight into the Eastern Pacific and bringing a lot of rainfall. And it does stay pretty weak according to the Euro, but it does start to strengthen up once you get about 3 days away, 72 hours away. Start getting a surface low. Still has issues, but it does finally strengthen up to at least a tropical depression going towards Nicaragua and Honduras with the rainfall and the possible winds. Now, when you follow it on the GFS, it confirms multiple vortices all around this system. It don't quite group up good, just like Euro's showing it has issues. But it shows it finally forms up, and it goes a little bit further to the west towards Belize, towards the Yucatan, but you still have this high pressure right above it, and it is guarding it to the west. So no matter what, it's not going north. Some of the ensembles yesterday show that there is a lot of chances for this to go into the Gulf of Mexico. But with the weather pattern that's coming for the U.S. at the same time, it's going to be suppressing all this to the southeast, and it'll be blocking all that from coming by. So even if the GFS is correct and it takes a little bit further of a track, it would be worse on people in the Caribbean as far as your impacts. But as far as the U.S., there's no way it could take that northern track because of that block. But the GFS shows that it does confirm it stays broke up just like the Euro is showing, but it shows it gathers a little bit better, and it has multiple vortices within this system, and it gets a little bit of a Fujiwara effect and goes to the west instead of going towards Nicaragua and Honduras. It's also good to note that GFS also showed late last night that if it does take that western push with all this energy, all this huge tropical wave, that not only could it affect the Yucatan, but it also could get into the high pressure because there's a little gap. There's a gap for a moment. That's why it showed it could be going into the Gulf. But this gap also could be taking some of this energy, some of this wave, and swinging it over southern Florida. And it could be bringing some thunderstorms, maybe some more rainfall. So far, it's not looking like that is going to be any kind of formation because the high pressure is blocking it straight to the west. And you can see the latest run with the GFS that it does take it towards Nicaragua and Honduras, but it does travel a little further to the north, just like we see in those other ensemble possibilities. But again, it agrees that there's going to be a big high pressure block and nothing is coming towards the U.S. out of this wave. So just to see what the pressure could be with the GFS, if it does show true, gets off landfall earlier, you can see there is still multiple vortices around this system as it gets off. It's not totally grouped up, and it takes the northern track rather than the southern track on these vortices. So it's still a little too far to be sure. Even National Hurricane Center says regardless of development, it's going to bring a lot of rainfall. I'm thinking like the Euro, this is going to form up a little late. 0Z shows it will be something strong going towards the Yucatan, maybe Belize, maybe a major hurricane around the 12th as we're getting this cold front coming down and possible snowstorm for the U.S. Now, the latest run on the GFS shows the same thing, multiple vortices. It could take the northern one. It could take the southern one. It's starting to agree more with the Euro that it is taking the southern one. You see how many they have. Look at all these multiple vortices still trying to get together. Still goes towards Nicaragua, Honduras. Still goes towards Belize and the Yucatan, but a lot weaker. And that's what the Canadian is agreeing on also. It will somewhat stay weak, but it will start strengthening up as it goes towards Nicaragua and Honduras. Definitely a hurricane, but it does roll a little bit further north and goes right where the update on the GFS is showing something weak, maybe a tropical storm, maybe even a tropical depression headed towards Belize and the Yucatan, all in the region of the Central America. So regardless, like National Hurricane Center saying, even if this don't develop, it will be bringing a lot of rainfall in y'all way, definitely within the next 10 days. So when you check with the ensembles, according to the GPS, you can see how everything groups up, confirms, but it comes off land a little bit sooner than what the Euro is showing. And more than likely will go towards Nicaragua and Honduras, but a little bit more northern than what Euro is showing. And that allows it to go a little bit further west. The grouping is agreeing it could go towards the Yucatan. High pressure blocking it, but it still shows there's a small possibility that this could still go into our Gulf. It all depends how slow this system travels. Even the Euro is agreeing, and most of the members, that this is going towards Nicaragua and Honduras. but it is agreeing that maybe it could roll a little bit further north like the Canadian is showing. It could be something weaker going towards the Yucatan later, but definitely not the Gulf. So here we are literally in 6 days with the ensembles, and you can see most of them does take it where it's a little bit northern of Nicaragua and Honduras, and that's why it travels a little bit further to the west. And if you follow it, you'll see why it becomes such a worrisome thing, because if it goes into the Bay of Campeche, high pressure retracts back, and some of them are saying it could go back over the U.S. later on if it takes a slower track. Even down here, you can see if it does travel towards Belize, you can see it does go a little bit further to the west into the Bay of Campeche, but it still could affect other Gulf states with this system if it don't keep going west. But when you look right here, this is your controlled member. This is your more than likely outcome. In 6 days, something a little bit weaker, just like the Euro is saying, towards Nicaragua and Honduras. And it does confirm a western push somewhere towards the Yucatan, towards the Belize, while we have this big, strong cold front coming in, just blocking the southeast, and it cannot go in our Gulf. Plus, we have this major pattern shift happening. So right now, we're about to get our coldest temperatures of the year. It is going to affect upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the East Coast. But after that, we're going to be on a little bit of a warm-up before we get this next pattern coming in from the northwest, bringing cold temperatures, potential major snowfall, major wind gusts, as well as some possible blizzards coming with that. After that, we're going back into a pattern where the cold temperatures are going to go back on the East Coast for the rest of October. So as we look at an update on what's going on with this cold air, you can see, according to the Euro, that we are getting a warm up, a little bit dip of a cold air coming in. This is going to affect the northwest, bringing this snowfall. A little bit of a warm up after that, but then the cold air is continuing to come in through October and even deeper for November. So we're definitely getting out of our warm temperatures, and cooler temperatures are coming for the whole country. But the pattern shift is going to be extreme. So I took myself out so you can see it. This is your Pacific North American pattern. So as you can see, we're going into a positive phase now. Then we're going to go into a negative phase and right back into a positive phase. This is going to be a very extreme change. So I will show you what this means. This lets us know what our setup for our jet stream is about to be into, whether the cold air and possible snowfall is coming to the east side of the U.S. or the west side of the U.S. So this is how you tell that. It's your Pacific North American pattern. And remember, we're going to a positive pattern. We're in the now. We're going to a negative, then a positive. So you can see right now we're in a positive pattern where you have the high pressure on the west side of the U.S. and you have the storms coming in through the east side of the U.S. And this does drag down to the southeast as we get this cold front. And that's that big high pressure that's going to sit there and help keep the tropics going to the west. That's when we go into that negative pattern. That's when we're going to have a storm system coming in from the west, bringing precipitation with all this cold temperatures, bringing your potential major snowfall. Then after we get the snowfall, we're going back into a positive pattern where the storms are going to be coming from the center to the east side of the U.S. So it is going to be a big flop. First, we have it right now for the east side. We even have cooler temperatures coming. It's going to switch to the west coast, and it's going to switch back to the east again. And you can see this here on the Euro. So we have these cool temperatures coming down, going to hang out for a while, and it is going all the way towards the southeast. Not real strong. It really breaks up and weakens, but cooler temperatures will be felt as far as northern Florida. Then we have the storm system still coming in from the 10th through the 11th, and this is bringing a lot of our precipitation needed to create this major snowfall that is coming. Then after that, it's going to continue to push to the east, southeast with all that. But this storm system coming in from the 10th through the 12th is what's bringing your snowfall, potential winds, because we have high pressures really squeezing this, creating a lot of tight isobars on them, bringing some high winds, and a lot of major snowfall for a lot of people. So as you check the latest with the Euro, you can see it is bringing heavy snowfall, especially Idaho and Montana, but it is reaching a lot of states in the west coast. And when you look at the amounts, you can see it's a lot of snowfall. All this pink is up to a foot of snow also for Canada, with the highest amount being in Montana, over 2 feet of snow, almost 2.5 feet. So it is bringing a lot of snowfall for the west coast, A lot of it in higher elevations, but some of these cities will be impacted by the snowfall, especially Idaho, especially Montana. And so far it's bringing 40 and 50 miles per hour wind gusts, even getting up to 60 and 70 on the higher elevations of California. But at least 35 miles per hour wind gusts for a certain amount of time, certain amount of hours, is going to bring you blizzard conditions. So you can see your temperatures this morning. All this bright blue is your 40s, even get up to the high 30s for the New England states, very far northern. And then all this red to pink right here is your freezing temperatures. And it is going to warm right back up today, pretty much for the whole country, except the higher elevations of Colorado and Wyoming, even portions of New Mexico. But then this cold air is coming right back down for tomorrow. Still putting a lot of people in the 50s, even the 40s in this bright blue. But now you're getting the higher 30s coming in from the upper Midwest. Now you're going to warm right back up for tomorrow, but you can see your highs for tomorrow in the upper Midwest is going to be in the high 30s to 40s. But then tomorrow night, it comes right back in a little bit further, and it is reaching all the way down to the southeast with some 50s. But now you're getting the 30s coming in through the upper Midwest, and this is by Friday morning. And then it warms right back up, and your highs are going to stay in the 40s to the 50s for the upper Midwest and the Ohio Valley. And then as this keeps pushing to the east, it grows even stronger. So now you're talking about Saturday morning. Nice cool temperatures coming in according to the Euro, and it's showing a lot of cool temperatures coming for everybody. The East Coast as far as the West Coast as well. A lot of cooler temperatures coming in when this starts to dip in. This is in 4 days when this happens. And as you keep going, you see this does push to the East Coast as well on Sunday. It's bringing a lot of cooler temperatures. Most of them is showing it's in the high 30s to the 40s. Now, GFS is taking this a little bit more extreme where it's a lot of low 30s. But I do have your 7-day outlook according to National Weather Service on your temperatures. But it is bringing cooler temperatures as we go through Sunday, all through the whole country. The center, the East Coast, and the West Coast, everybody's going to stay in these cooler temperatures as we get this next pattern shift. But as we get closer towards this snowfall, then it's going to start staying on the northeast a little bit, but it's going to start coming in from the west. Once it starts coming from the west, we get that big warm up. Then the really cold temperatures start to move in definitely by next Wednesday. And that's when it's going to start bringing the cooler temperatures, the snowfall, potential major snowfall coming out of the system with the possible blizzards. Now it's bringing very cold temperatures so far up in Canada by Wednesday, taking it all the way down to a potential -6 degree temperatures coming to Canada. Negative temperatures while everybody else is in the 20s and the 30s as this swings on through for Wednesday and Thursday. Still stays cold for Thursday as well, and bringing possible 50s to the panhandle of Texas as this keeps coming in. And Friday shows a lot of cold temperatures coming all the way down California now. Even California is feeling the 40s and 50s. This is going to be a far stretch. And it's good to note that from the center to the east side of the U.S., you are in these cooler temperatures. But when this cold air comes from the west side of the U.S. and we go into this extreme negative pattern, this is where y'all going to start being a little bit more of a warm-up for a minute while this comes through. It's going to warm up the whole east side of the U.S. while you're frozen on the west side of the U.S. And just to see what could happen after that, because you can only see so far with the Euro, the GFS is seeing these freezing temperatures moving in on the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. But if you notice, after it comes in on the 12th through the 13th, it's bringing a lot more colder temperatures than what the Euro is seeing. This is almost as far as the Euro can see. But it's bringing a lot of people in the 20s to 30s, with the West Coast really feeling the temperatures all the way down towards Mexico. Then as you keep on going, you can see how far it really travels after you get hit with that cold front. It stretches right back down again on the 14th, covering the whole northern half of the U.S. And on the 15th, it stays somewhere around the northeast with the coldest. But everybody is in 40s to 50s, covering almost all of the U.S. But I do have this link in the description so you can see your temperatures according to National Weather Service. So your lows for today, you're waking up pretty chilly. A lot of people in the 40s and 50s, pretty much the whole country. For tomorrow, it's going to move further towards the southeast. Florida is going to feel this as well. And as you go through Friday, then the 20-degree temperatures are going to start coming in through the upper Midwest. Saturday is going to move through the Ohio Valley. Sunday is going to move further towards the Tennessee-Kentucky Valley. Even the deep south is going to be in the 40s at this time, in the 60s for the northern Florida Panhandle. As you go through Monday, it's going to stay towards the East Coast. And Tuesday, stay there as well. But thank you so much for visiting my channel today. God bless every single one of you. I hope you have a very blessed and a very positive Wednesday out there. It feels like some good energy. Stay in a good mood, and good things will happen to you. I'm a firm believer of that. Today, I want to read Galatians 5, verses 16 through 26. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lascivious, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revellings, and such like. Of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. Amen. Have a very blessed day today, everybody. God bless you and your families. All glory does go to God, God of Jacob, our Father in heaven. And may He bring peace and joy to all of your lives. Walk in the Spirit. Don't worry about what the flesh wants. Amen. Hallelujah. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.